The night Lucas asked me to the senior prom, I said yes. He had no idea he was asking his own roommate, but that confession belongs later. Let me tell you how a lonely, invisible boy named Mark discovered she was someone else entirely. Someone who had been waiting inside, patient and silent, for years. It began with Daniel. She was a psychology major, and just about the only girl who ever paid me any real attention throughout my entire college experience. My social life was non-existent. I could not secure a date to save my life. Honestly, I doubted I could even get arrested if I tried. We lived on the same floor in a co-ed dormitory, our rooms directly across the hall from one another. My roommate Lucas ran track for the university team. A guy my size might qualify for shuffleboard, assuming such a team existed. Or perhaps bowling. Athletics were simply not in the cards for me. I had no idea then that Daniel would see something in me that I had buried so deep I had forgotten it existed. No idea that by graduation, I would walk across that stage with a new name, a new body, and a heart finally beating in rhythm with who I truly was. But I am getting ahead of myself. We were just beginning our senior year, and I knew my accounting major paired with a minor in computer science would guarantee employment after graduation. That remained the single bright spot in my otherwise dreary existence. I could sit at a desk, crunch numbers, analyze data. These were skills I actually possessed. Lucas appreciated my abilities more than anyone. He struggled terribly with mathematics, a necessary evil for his marine biology degree. I had pulled him through countless brutal exams, and his gratitude seemed genuine. The fraternities had rejected me during freshman year without a second glance. Summer vacations meant returning home to the same isolation I experienced on campus. The truth was undeniable. I had slipped into a serious depression, a fact Daniel recognized almost immediately with her psychological training, even though her doctoral program still lay ahead of her. She sometimes gave me a peculiar look after catching me staring at her, which I confess happened with embarrassing regularity. Daniel was genuinely pretty. She possessed a wonderful figure, wore beautiful clothes, and seemed to genuinely enjoy being a woman. Feminine through and through. I almost never saw her in pants of any variety, but when I did, she paired them with heels. She adored skirts and dresses, and I suppose I did too. On her, I mean. Obviously on her. I admired her style. What the hell? Fine. I was jealous of her. She was popular. She had lovely clothes and boyfriends and beauty. What did I have? Nothing that compared. Being around her brought me comfort, yet simultaneously deepened my inferiority complex. She treated me exactly like one of her girlfriends, which stirred conflicting emotions within me. On one hand, I felt grateful that a pretty girl accepted me as a friend. On the other hand, our conversations always revolved around girl talk. As a potential romantic interest, I never stood a chance. We would give each other manicures during study breaks. She even convinced me to learn French braiding on her hair, then taught me additional styles. I developed genuine skill with her preferred looks and nail techniques. Daniel's roommate, Chloe, merely tolerated my presence. Barely. One afternoon, as I approached their door to knock, I overheard Chloe speaking. "Daniel, I really do not understand why you waste time with Mark. He is such a wuss." Daniel's response stopped me cold. "He is my friend, and there is far more to him than you comprehend. More than even he understands yet." I wondered what she meant by that. Then I knocked. We were sharing coffee one afternoon when she leaned forward with concern in her eyes. "Mark, we absolutely must address this depression of yours. You are genuinely worrying me." I could hardly confess to my good friend that jealousy toward her consumed me. Instead, I unburdened myself of other troubles. She listened carefully, then delivered her assessment. I was hovering just a hair away from clinical depression. She wanted to help me. Perhaps she sensed my envy all along. Perhaps that explains how everything began. She explained that without her degree, she could not prescribe traditional antidepressants. However, she knew where to obtain something she believed would help. The first was an herbal alternative to Prozac. The others came from an internet site selling hormone supplements of some kind. She offered to order everything for me, which she did. The packages arrived approximately 1 week later. I attempted to reimburse her, but Daniel came from considerable wealth. Her checking account had no practical limits. She absolutely refused my money. Not wanting to offend her generosity, I accepted the gift graciously. 2 bottles arrived. I was instructed to take 2 capsules from each bottle, twice daily. Well, I have always subscribed to the philosophy of trying anything once. I plunged directly into my therapy under the guidance of Dr. Daniel. I trusted her completely. The labels read Evanes and Feminol. Both were patented formulas, which convinced me they must be safe. Daniel had downloaded testimonials from satisfied users. They were printed on strips, cut apart in ways that made me wonder if she was showing me selective portions. The comments remained vague regarding specifics, but every single one contained glowing reports about feeling better. Nothing more detailed than that. I could not wait to feel better about myself. And truthfully, by Thanksgiving, I genuinely was feeling remarkably improved. My headaches occurred less frequently and with diminished intensity. Sleep came easier and lasted longer. The St. John's wort, an herb approved by the FDA for treating depression, was successfully leveling out my mood swings. There had been talk of classifying herbs as drugs requiring prescriptions, but that legislation never materialized. Daniel explained that while the herbal supplement was beneficial, the other 2 pills would address the specific root cause of my depression. At least, that was her hope and professional opinion. Something curious developed between us. Daniel displayed absolutely no shyness around me anymore. I would knock on her door, and she might answer wearing nothing but her bra and panties, or perhaps a thin silk robe if she knew it was me. This happened with increasing frequency as the weeks progressed. The only negative effect of my tranquilizers seemed to be some weight gain. Honestly, that could only help. I had always been quite skinny, in addition to being rather short at 5'7". Daniel stood only an inch shorter than me and possessed an adorable figure. She probably weighed around 130 pounds. It was Thursday afternoon when she again opened the door in her underwear. I immediately noticed she must have done some internet shopping of her own. Victoria's Secret, perhaps. The set was undeniably sexy. I found myself unable to look away from it, from her, from everything. I knew she was only a B cup, but that particular bra made her appear a full C with impressive cleavage. My lingering glances did not go unnoticed. "Do you like my new lingerie?" I gave her an enthusiastic, affirmative response. She smiled and mentioned she had another matching set in her drawer. Would I like to feel how silky the fabric was? I attempted to appear nonchalant about the offer, but the small bulge forming in my pants betrayed my true interest. She retrieved the other set and placed it in my hands. Then she dropped the bomb. "Mark, would you like to try them on?" "You cannot be serious." "Why not?" "I know you appreciate the way I dress. I can see you clearly enjoy the lingerie. And honestly, I think the weight you have been putting on would look quite nice in them. Even the bra." She paused, studying my chest with clinical interest. "I am only a B cup, and you must be approaching an A by now." "What do you mean an A?" "And what do you mean by now?" Fear crept into my voice. "Mark, look at the front of your shirt." I glanced down and felt my stomach tighten. "Oh, well, I suppose I have gotten a little flabby lately. And even though I feel much better emotionally, I think those pills are making me sore in certain areas. My nipples are being rubbed raw by my cotton undershirts. They seem bigger somehow, darker too. Though strangely, I have not gained any weight around my midsection. Mark, take your clothes off. I cannot do that in front of you." "Why not? How much am I concealing in my lingerie? Do you honestly believe I have never seen one of those little things before?" She gestured vaguely toward my midsection. "Besides, it is not as though you are built like a horse or anything. I have seen you in a bathing suit, remember? You are barely there." "No, I suppose not, but still." "Are you afraid I might attack you?" Never. You would not hurt a girl. Oh, stop protesting. You know you want to get into my panties, so drop your pants and get to it. Yes, ma'am, I replied with mock subservience. Moments later, I stood in Daniel's room completely naked. Thank goodness her roommate Chloe was away for a few days. This situation would have been impossible to explain. All right, step into them, and I will show you how to put the bra on properly so you get the full effect. I genuinely think you are going to enjoy this experience. They sell such beautiful lingerie these days. I pulled those divine, silky garments up my legs, and shivers cascaded across my entire body. Goosebumps erupted everywhere. The fabric hugged tight against my skin, but my excitement was visibly showing. Daniel reached over and flicked her finger sharply against the offending area. A brief flash of pain followed, and Junior immediately retreated. All right, now reach inside and smooth out your front. Tuck everything back. Good. My excitement remained somewhat visible, just slightly, which essentially explained the current state of things down there. My nipples had become extremely erect, protruding like small pencil erasers. What happened to the tiny nubs I used to have? I wondered silently. There, that is much better, she said approvingly. You do not want to ruin the moment. Why, Michaela? Your nipples and areolas almost look like a girl's. You have been keeping secrets from me. Michaela? I had never heard that name before, yet somehow it resonated deep within me. Where did that come from? I just thought it suited you, she said with a knowing smile. A beautiful name for the beautiful girl I suspect has been hiding inside you all along. You can hook the bra in front, then turn it around and pull it up. Your chest should look quite nice in that style. Following her instructions, I fastened the hooks, rotated the bra, and slid the straps over my shoulders. Daniel reached behind each cup and lifted upward, positioning my accumulated tissue onto the built-in shelf padding. Holy shit, Daniel! I look like I actually have breasts. I look like a girl. You do have breasts, dear girlfriend, and they are coming along quite nicely. Coming along? Girlfriend? This cannot be happening. No way! Way, Michaela. A definite way. She paused, letting that sink in. So, do you like getting into my pants and bra? At that, we both dissolved into giggles. The tension broke momentarily, replaced by something lighter. Come on, Daniel. I suppose it is rather obvious. And do you know what is obvious to me, dear Michaela? You have wanted to do this for a very long time, and it feels absolutely wonderful, does it not? Yes. I cannot hear you, Michaela. Yes. Still not loud enough, Michaela. Admit that you would like me to dress you from the skin out in my pretty things. Admit you want me to fix your hair and teach you proper makeup techniques and pierce your ears so you could become a pretty girl and finally be popular. Is that not what you truly want? Tell me, Michaela. This is your girlfriend Daniel speaking. We tell each other everything. Or at least, I thought we did until recently. She leaned closer, her voice intensifying. Say it! By this point, she had shifted into hyperdrive. She was performing a superb demonstration of role-play counseling technique. She deserved straight A's for this session alone. I suspected those pills I had been taking, somewhat reluctantly at first, but now so willingly, were responsible for both these emerging feelings and my anatomical changes. Daniel and I would need to have a very long conversation about that, but later. Right now, she was forcing me to confront myself. Damn it. She could not have sliced closer to the truth with a surgical scalpel. With that sudden realization crashing over me, I sank down onto her bed. I buried my face in my hands and began sobbing uncontrollably. I never answered her question directly. I did not have to. My reaction said everything words could not. Daniel sat down beside me with a box of tissues. She wrapped her arms around my trembling shoulders, pulled me close, and simply let me cry. She was going to make an exceptional therapist someday. She had guided me to my breakthrough, the recognition of desires I had buried so deeply I barely knew they existed. Yes, to be pretty. to be popular. That was what I truly wanted. But how could such a thing ever be possible? Gradually, I regained control of my breathing. She handed me fresh tissues. I looked up at her through red, swollen eyes. Well, Michaela, I suppose we have our answers now, do we not? You have finally come to terms with it. Now let us see if we cannot make your dreams come true. A therapist's job is not to render judgments or force people into predetermined molds. Our purpose is to free them and help them confront their demons. What do you say we continue dealing with yours? Okay, Daniel, you are absolutely right. I must have had this buried deep inside me for years. Now that it has surfaced, I can finally try to deal with who I really am. Her smile was warm and encouraging. All right then, what comes next? Actually, a garter belt and stockings. Are you ready for that? Are you well enough emotionally to meet the person you wish you were? Yes, Daniel, I want to know her. I'm not afraid anymore. Good. Pull the panties down slightly and hook this around your middle. Draw the straps down underneath the panties and out through the leg openings. She demonstrated the technique with practiced ease. Now, here is how to properly roll up stockings and attach them to the clips. I know you appreciate sexy lingerie, and pantyhose is terribly unsexy. I absolutely despise them personally. I followed her instructions carefully, savoring every sensation. Have you got your nylon secured? Good. Now a slip? Full or half? She paused, rummaging through her drawer. Wait. I have a full slip with a power net midsection. Try this one. It will give you a better figure for the time being. For the time being? Honey, you are nowhere near finished blossoming yet. You will not really need shapewear for much longer. I rarely use this one myself anymore. She studied my face with clinical interest. You are no longer depressed, are you? No? Not even slightly. Good. Then the pills are performing exactly as intended. You have finally admitted that you want to be a pretty girl wearing pretty clothes. Those pills are helping you achieve that transformation. Just keep taking them faithfully. By the end of this term, and certainly by the time we graduate, your figure may even surpass mine. You mean they are actually changing me into a girl? Well, not a biological one, Michaela, but certainly an exceptionally convincing copy. Your bosom, hips, and bottom will continue enlarging. Your little thingy will become less useful, shall we say. You may want to start sitting down when you use the bathroom, beginning immediately. But you will be compensated by other developments. The sensations your breasts can provide. The joy of finally seeing your true appearance as a woman reflected back at you. I absorbed this information with surprising calm. All right, the slip now. Step into it carefully. I pulled the silky garment up and smoothed it over my new curves. Very nice indeed. Now sit at my vanity and let me attend to a few little things. Her few little things turned out to be considerably more involved than expected. She numbed my earlobes with ice cubes, then swiftly pushed sterilized pins through the frozen flesh. Tiny diamond studs followed immediately. Knowing Daniel's family wealth, I suspected they were genuine diamonds too. She arched my eyebrows with precise tweezers. She curled my chin-length hair using her styling iron, creating soft feminine waves. Foundation came next, then concealer, powder, blush, eyeshadow, liner, mascara. The works. She finished with a coat of creamy rose lipstick and a delicate spritz of floral cologne. Then she retrieved a blouse and coordinating skirt from her closet. Those I knew how to manage myself. Then she retrieved a pair of mid-heeled pumps from her closet and set them before me. Stand up and turn around slowly. I obeyed, rotating carefully on the unfamiliar heels, feeling the skirt swirl gently against my nylon-clad legs. Oh, Michaela, you are going to break some hearts, believe me. Now go look in the full-length mirror. Frankly, I was terrified. I had confronted this mentally and emerged intact, but what awaited me now was undeniable reality. Living color. This was the version of myself I had never permitted to draw breath. And now I was about to meet her. Me, Michaela. Walking toward that mirror, such a flood of emotions overwhelmed me that I can scarcely describe them or know where to begin. Relief washed over me at not being homely. Desire stirred for the young woman I saw reflected there. Profound gratitude toward Daniel for guiding me into the light. The stunning realization that it was actually possible for me to possess these clothes, to take genuine joy in them and in my appearance. Most powerfully, peace mingled with exhilaration filled my heart and mind simultaneously. I discovered in that moment that this was never really about erotic fulfillment. This was about wants and needs and feelings that had desperately required expression for years. All of that existed in addition to my physically evolving body. I stood motionless for several minutes, simply absorbing everything in complete silence. I wanted to remember this moment forever. Daniel took care of that. As I turned around, she snapped several photographs of the new me. "Hey, you are not planning to blackmail me, are you?" I giggled nervously. "Silly girl. These are for your scrapbook. Of course, I want copies for myself too." She lowered the camera and grew more serious. "Michaela?" "Yes?" "Do you know the clinical term for how you feel and who you want to be?" "No." "You are a transsexual, honey. It is a combined psychiatric and medical condition in which your mind is oriented opposite to your physical body. Your mind will function perfectly well in a female body. Right now, you exist at tremendous odds with your natural self. Does that make any sense to you?" All of a sudden, a great deal makes sense, Daniel. Everything, actually. She nodded with satisfaction. "All right then, what happens now?" "Well, why not go across the hall and retrieve your textbooks? We can study together this evening." "Me? Walk out dressed like this?" "Of course. You want to become a real girl, do you not? You will want to do this eventually, and your first time will be absolutely thrilling. Go ahead. Fetch your books." She practically shoved me through the doorway. Heart pounding, I crossed the hall and opened my door. Then, the worst possible scenario imaginable unfolded. Lucas was there. I had simply barged in without knocking first. He turned from his desk. "Is that you, Ma?" His voice trailed off. I could feel his eyes traveling over me from head to toe, absorbing every detail. "Well, hello there. And who might you be?" "Oh, my name is Michaela." I stammered out the words in my best imitation of a female news anchor whose vocal range matched my own. "Mark asked me to pick up some books for him. Do you mind?" "No, of course not. Go right ahead while I enjoy the view." Gathering Mark's textbooks, I simply could not resist delivering a parting comment as I headed for the door. "Did you enjoy it?" "Oh, yes," he replied, grinning broadly. "Drop by any time, Michaela, is it?" "Yes, Michaela." "Goodbye, Lucas." Only after I returned safely to Daniel's room did I realize my mistake. I was not supposed to know Lucas's name. Damn. Perhaps he missed the slip. Perhaps he would assume Mark had mentioned his roommate. There was no way to undo the pierced ears, but the rest of Michaela had to remain at Daniel's place for now. She did, however, extend an open invitation for me to return any time I wished. I accepted gratefully. When Mark returned to his room later that evening, Lucas was still there studying at his desk. The greeting seemed normal enough, with one notable exception. "Oh, nice earrings, Michaela." He enjoyed delivering zingers as much as I did, apparently. "I think big hoops would look even nicer on you, though." He laughed at his own joke. "Well, if you really think so, Lucas, I shall have to get some." I shot him a pointed look. He finally let the matter drop. Christmas break approached rapidly, and most of us would be heading home for the holidays. Before Daniel departed campus, she handed me a wrapped package. "Just a little something to keep both of yourselves in touch over the holidays." Inside lay half a dozen pairs of beautiful satin panties in various colors. For the first time ever, I kissed her full on the mouth. I wrapped my arms around her in a tight embrace and thanked her from the bottom of my heart. Another small box and a book rested at the bottom of the package. The box contained a pair of small gold hoops and a pair of delicate dangling earrings. You are simply too sweet to me, Daniel. Thank you ever so much. It is only 2 weeks, but I will miss you terribly. I will miss you too, Michaela. Her smile held genuine warmth. While home during Christmas vacation, I purchased another suitcase, a fairly large one. Then I began filling it systematically. I now knew my female sizes with confidence, and that suitcase gradually filled with lingerie, silky nightgowns, various hosiery, flat shoes, heeled pumps, feminine sneakers, bedroom slippers, tailored slacks, flowing skirts, pretty blouses, several dresses, a complete makeup collection, and assorted jewelry. I could keep Michaela contained in a suitcase if absolutely necessary, though I preferred not to have everything perpetually wrinkled. I decided to hang all my new clothes in my bedroom closet at home. I cleaned my own room religiously. Mother had no legitimate reason to discover my new wardrobe. She noticed the earrings immediately, of course. Neither Mom nor Dad expressed particular enthusiasm about them, but they refrained from commenting extensively. They simply accepted the small diamonds as fact. Their son was going to graduate near the top of his class. That seemed to matter more. I overheard them talking one evening. If he wants to be eccentric or look a little feminine, that is his business, David. He has enough problems already. Please stay off his back about this. All right? All right, Evelyn, I promise. You know what they say about the best laid plans of mice and men? I had arranged a date to go skating the day after Christmas. Mom came into my room early that morning to wake me. She found her little darling snuggled beneath the covers, with his hair gathered in a soft ponytail, wearing a silky nightgown and traces of lipstick. Gold hoop earrings catching the morning light. Feminine mules positioned neatly beside the bed. Even in my sleep, I could sense her presence in the room. She reached down to shake my shoulder, and her hand encountered the smooth fabric of my nightgown. When I turned to face her, she received the full benefit of waking up Michaela, including visible cleavage pressing against the lacy neckline. For several long moments, she simply stared, processing. Then, without skipping a single beat, she spoke. Honey, do not forget your skating date this morning. Time to get up. Hop to it, and you had better clean yourself up a bit first. I understood precisely what that meant. Right, Mom. Thanks. My God, I had just rubbed her nose directly in it. I genuinely had not intended for that to happen. Clearly, we would need to have a mother-daughter conversation before I returned to school. However, I refused to be the one to initiate it. She would have to bring up the subject herself. Mark spent the following week on pins and needles. Mom had not uttered another word about that morning. He needed to return to campus by the 5th of January. On the 3rd, Mom finally plunged in where angels fear to tread. Honey, when I woke you up last week? I know, Mom, and I was hanging some pants in your closet on laundry day, and I suppose I do not have to tell you what I discovered in there, do I? No, Mom. Would you care to explain, honey? I promise I am not angry. I simply want to understand what is happening with my son. I took a deep breath and began. Well, Mom, the fact is that your son has been undergoing psychotherapy of sorts, combined with herbal and hormone therapy, for approximately 4 months now. The underlying cause was severe clinical depression. What you discovered in my closet represents the cure for that depression. Everything emerged during therapy sessions. I paused, gathering courage. Mom, I hope this does not break your heart, but I do not believe you are going to have a son very much longer. Her face remained carefully neutral as I continued. The reason I have been a loner my entire life is that I was terrified. If I allowed anyone to get too close, they might discover Michaela. That would have been an enormous disappointment to many people. So I simply did my best to maintain the outward presence of your son. I cannot do that anymore. Mark is a lie. Living that lie is not healthy for me. I searched her eyes for understanding. You have witnessed how much better I have become lately. More outgoing, more friendly, more loving even. Yes, I have certainly noticed those changes and felt grateful for them. But what you are telling me is that you are going to become a real girl? Everywhere? Yes, Mom, everywhere. My voice grew steadier as I spoke my truth aloud. I have never been happy as a male. By the standards of the world, I am certainly not a man in any traditional sense. My counselor gave me a book I would like you to read. It is called True Selves, and it explains everything you might want to know about my condition. I reached out and took her hand. I love you and Dad more than anything. The last thing I want is to lose either of you. But if keeping me sane holds any concern for you at all, please read before you judge. And make Dad read it too. The book is far more eloquent than I could ever be. I outlined the path ahead. I will be seeing a psychiatrist for the remainder of this term. By the end of March, I will be recommended for intensive hormone therapy. I plan to apply for a legal name change so my records can be updated properly. I want to graduate as Michaela Lynn Harris. I will interview for jobs and be employed as Michaela. I must live fully as a woman for 1 year before surgery becomes an option. I wanted her to understand the reversibility. Up until that final point, almost everything can be undone. Well, not quite everything. My beard, such as it is, will be permanently eliminated, and my breasts would require surgical removal. But the major decisions remain mine to reconsider. I squeezed her hand gently. Mom, I understand how difficult this must be for you, but I hope that our love will build a bridge strong enough for us to stand together through this journey. Will you support my decision? She sat quietly for a long moment. Mark, Michaela, I honestly do not quite know what to say. You never showed any obvious signs before. I know, Mom. I did not even know myself until a dear friend of mine, a psychology major, unlocked my mind and my heart. This is truly what I have always wanted. I have been alone and desperately lonely my entire life because I did not understand who I was. Now I finally do, and I genuinely like myself for the first time ever. My voice began to waver. Mom, please tell me you still love me, because I think I am about to start crying. Come here to Mama, Michaela. Cry in my arms if you need to. And the flood came, just as it had with Daniel. Wave after wave of emotion poured out of me. It felt so incredibly good to release everything I had been holding inside. She stroked my hair and spoke softly. You are still my child. You are simply a new and improved version of Mark. The things I loved about him remain inside you. Only the packaging is undergoing a change. Yes, I still love you. And once your father understands the situation, he will come around too. Do not worry, we will help you through this. She pulled back slightly to look into my eyes. This is not going to be easy for any of us. You are going to need legal assistance, and our insurance will cover the psychiatrist and the medications. We are not going to leave you out there drowning at sea on your own. She paused thoughtfully. I think I need to get on the internet and do some research. What exactly am I looking for, honey? It is called transsexualism, Mom. Read the book first, because a great deal of what you will find online is pure garbage. Some of it is rather kinky and inappropriate material. I will email you links to the legitimate sites that contain accurate information, all right? All right, dear, as you say. Later, as I prepared to leave for campus, I was Michaela from the skin out. My outer layers consisted of a feminine cut shirt and tailored jeans, both from the women's department, paired with androgynous loafers that were actually women's shoes. I began contemplating how this transformation would affect the remainder of my school year. With my parents' support, I felt confident the official records could be changed. But what about good old Lucas? How would he react as he watched Mark slowly disappearing, with me taking his place? Would he beat me up? Perhaps he would simply demand I leave and request a private room instead. Whatever his reaction turned out to be, the situation was certainly going to prove interesting. I wore the small gold hoops Daniel had given me back to school. When I arrived at my room, it was Michaela in masculine drag, who glided with a gentle, natural sway to her hips across the floor. I hung up my regular clothes in my closet, then walked across the hall to Daniel's room and hung up my dresses and feminine items there. Chloe just gave me her usual disapproving look. I left without engaging. Lucas noticed my hoops almost immediately. When I caught him staring, I decided to make a joke of the situation. Well, the larger hoops were your idea originally. I simply decided the really big ones did not look particularly nice with this outfit. I gave him what I can only describe as a wry smile. I genuinely wanted to purse my lips and blow him a playful kiss, but camping it up did not seem like such a wise idea at this stage. I had decided to start binding my chest and purchased a sports bra with seamless cups, hoping it would control my increasing tendency to bounce noticeably inside my shirt. The strategy seemed to be working reasonably well, though I did appear as though I had been doing serious chest exercises. That notion was patently ridiculous, and Lucas knew it. I simply did what I could to minimize the obvious situation. I always changed clothes in the bathroom now, ensuring complete privacy. I made certain my covered laundry hamper remained visible during those times. I purchased a pair of plain silk pajamas with simple piping from the women's section. That was as close to letting Lucas see Michaela as I wanted him to get. I had to take my laundry to the campus facility. I certainly could not be washing out bras and panties in the sink and hanging them over the bathtub to dry. That would raise questions I was not prepared to answer. Things had been progressing smoothly overall. My grades remained excellent. I had completed my psychiatric evaluation and received my recommendation to the hormone clinic. My legal name change had been processed back in Dayton. Now I was enrolled in full intensive preoperative transsexual therapy. It was late April. I had traveled an incredible distance since Christmas. My A cup had grown into a difficult-to-hide B+, and Junior was shrinking rapidly. Daniel and I would go out regularly for lunch or dinner, or to catch a movie together. These outings helped me tremendously in dealing with being visible in public as myself. I was no longer afraid. I genuinely enjoyed my time as Michaela Moore with each passing week. My confidence was expanding at least as quickly as my bosom and bottom. I had actually lost a little weight overall, but what remained was being reallocated to distinctly feminine areas. I could no longer allow Lucas to see me undressed or even in my underwear. My undergarments now consisted exclusively of panties and bras. One evening when Michaela was visiting at Daniel's room, Lucas popped in unexpectedly looking for Mark. He said he needed help with a mathematics problem. "Oh, hi, Michaela." He seemed mildly surprised to see me there. "Oh," said Daniel casually. "You two have met before?" "We met when I went over to retrieve some of Mark's books a couple of months ago. Mark will not be in until later, Lucas. However, I'm in his mathematics class. Perhaps I could help." I made the offer knowing full well I was living dangerously on the edge, but the situation promised to be entertaining. He accepted eagerly. He was desperate as usual. Daniel looked at me with concern. "Michaela, are you certain about this?" "It will be perfectly fine, Daniel. We will leave the door open, will we not, Lucas?" "Oh, sure, Michaela. Would not want to break any rules." So we adjourned to our room, and I tutored Lucas through his problem set. He was genuinely grateful when we finished. "You know, you are every bit as good at this as my roommate, but considerably prettier." "Why, thank you, kind sir." I gave him my most gracious smile. Then he stuck his foot directly in it. "Michaela, would you consider going to the senior prom with me? I think you are a real fox, and I would love to take you if you do not already have a date." My heart nearly stopped. "Can I have a day or two to think about it, Lucas?" "Why, sure. Thank you for considering it." I promised to wait patiently for your answer. Then I returned to Daniel's room and closed the door behind me. I hope the muffled giggling and wall pounding that erupted for the next 5 minutes did not connect in Lucas's mind with his invitation. That poor, sweet, oblivious boy. The fact of the matter was simple. I liked Lucas tremendously and would be genuinely happy to attend the prom as his date. I simply did not want to get killed in the process. Daniel, will you help me smooth out my rough edges and teach me how to dance backwards in high heels? Of course, honey. That is precisely what big sisters are for. We can start practicing right now. They leave the gymnasium open in the evenings. I will bring my little radio. You grab a pair of flats to wear down there initially, and then we will work our way up to the heels. Sound good? Super, let us go. After approximately half an hour of intensive practice, I had graduated from dance school. Following rather than leading felt completely different, but surprisingly natural. So, considerably more confident about my ability to carry off the evening successfully, Michaela informed Lucas that she would be delighted to accompany him. Daniel generously offered to loan me the gown she had worn the previous year. It hung only an inch shorter on my frame. Pale blue taffeta, strapless, with an elegant bow at the back waist and a daring slit high on one side that exposed plenty of leg. Daniel also fitted me with a push-up strapless bra that would absolutely knock his eyes out. I looked downright pulchritudinous in that gown. The garment cinched my waist beautifully, accentuating my full hips to maximum effect. I would need to wear pantyhose that evening rather than stockings, as I could not afford to have Lucas getting too close to certain areas. As Mark departed the room just after dinner, Lucas called out, "Hey, where are you going?" "I have a date, Lucas. Got to go pick up my dancing clothes. See you later, buddy." And I walked straight into Daniel's room. Chloe had to be included in our elaborate scheme. She was being considerably less hostile lately, sometimes even genuinely friendly. Perhaps it was simply boys she disliked, rather than me specifically. It was an absolute madhouse in there, with 3 girls simultaneously preparing for the prom. We all helped each other, though, and managed to complete the transformation by 7:30. The boys were scheduled to collect us at 8. The dance ran from 8 until 11, but none of us wanted to arrive first. Lucas was the second escort to appear. We departed for the hall together. He complimented my appearance and the dress repeatedly, telling me I looked exceptionally pretty. I felt the heat rise to my cheeks. Daniel had done magnificent work putting my hair up in an elaborate pile of cascading curls, with a few tendrils falling softly around my face. I wore my sexiest dangle earrings and a fragrance I knew he particularly enjoyed. I genuinely wanted to make this a memorable night for him. I found myself seeing Lucas through a girl's eyes for the first time. He was actually quite attractive. Darned if he was not genuinely cute. Tall, athletic, reasonably intelligent. He would probably graduate and make some lucky girl a wonderful husband someday. The dance proved as enjoyable as any extremely well-chaperoned event could be. Someone did manage to sneak a fifth of vodka into the punch bowl. That loosened the atmosphere considerably and helped everyone relax. Of course, I did not dance exclusively with Lucas all evening. The girls carried dance cards, and mine filled completely, except for the breaks I penciled in for refreshments, powder room visits, and resting my aching feet. Lucas moved gracefully on the dance floor, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time in his arms. During the slow numbers, he held me remarkably close, my bosom pressed firmly against his lower chest. I found it natural to drape my arms around his neck, which left his hands resting on my hips and occasionally wandering to my backside. We talked endlessly between songs. I simply gazed dreamily into those soft blue eyes and forgot about Mark completely. I was Michaela, and I was absolutely loving every moment. We departed the dance before it officially ended and continued to a party at one of the fraternity houses. The celebration continued all night, but we left around 2 in the morning. I was utterly exhausted and admittedly a little drunk. I told Lucas to drop me at the dormitory. "Sure, honey. Anything you say." We pulled up in front of our building. As we passed along the far side, I noticed Daniel's light was still glowing in her window. When we reached our floor, I headed straight for Danielle's door. I was about to knock when Lucas came over, gently turned me around, and planted the deepest, most passionate kiss I could possibly imagine directly on my lips. He thanked me for the wonderful evening and told me he would very much like to take me out again. I had dreaded that moment because I genuinely did not know how I would react, but I kissed him back. Naturally, eagerly. I told him I would like that very much. I was about to knock once more when Lucas grabbed my gloved hand and held it firmly. Are you not going to the wrong room, Michaela? What do you mean, Lucas? I am visiting Daniel. Maybe you are, you little fox, but you live across the hall with me. Or did you not realize that either? I managed to say, Lucas, before the gravity of the moment overwhelmed me completely. I felt the blood rushing to my head, my vision narrowing to a pinpoint, and then I passed out cold. Apparently, Daniel heard me hit the floor and came rushing out to investigate the commotion. Oh, Michaela! What did you do to her, Lucas? Not a single thing, except ask her to come into her own room instead of yours. Daniel stared at him in disbelief. You have known? How long? I knew something was happening when Mark came back with earrings that looked exactly like the ones Michaela was wearing. Then again, when he returned after Christmas break, he became incredibly secretive. He would not let me see him, even in his shorts anymore. I grew suspicious and started looking for answers. I found some in his laundry hamper. He paused, somewhat embarrassed. After that, it was a while until a girlfriend of mine who works in the registrar's office mentioned that he had petitioned the court for a legal name change to Michaela Lynn Harris. Daniel waited for his reaction. Well, to tell you the truth, I genuinely think she is a fox. I had a wonderful time tonight. I believe Michaela will be considerably happier than Mark ever was, so I am perfectly fine with everything. She is going all the way with this, then? Yes, Lucas, all the way. She has even reached an understanding with her parents. They are supporting her completely. He nodded thoughtfully. It is only a week until school ends. If she wants to bring her clothes over to our room, that is perfectly acceptable. I promise I will not attack her. I am probably making a complete fool of myself, but I would genuinely like to take her out again and see where things might lead. Daniel smiled warmly. My lord, Lucas, you are not the male chauvinist I always assumed you were. That is remarkably sweet of you. I think she is waking up now. Help her to her feet and walk her into her room. I have a feeling you two are going to be awake for a while yet. Lucas wrapped his arm around my waist, supporting my shoulder beneath his. Come along, little lady. Time for bed. I can see you desperately need some sleep. Michaela walked unsteadily into her room on her 3-inch heels. Daniel and Chloe followed behind, carrying all her clothes, shoes, makeup, jewelry. The works. The entire transfer took approximately 5 minutes. Michaela simply sat in the overstuffed chair, existing in a state of bewildered bliss. She remained silent, a silly little grin spreading across her face. After Daniel and Chloe returned to their room, she finally gathered the courage to speak. Lucas, I would not have accepted this date if I did not genuinely like you. I feel exactly the same way, Michaela. I have known about you for quite a while now, but I figured if you wanted to tell me yourself, you would do so when you were ready. And you did tell me, just not in the way I expected. He studied her face with concern. Are you all right? Yes, Lucas dear, I am perfectly fine. I just hope I can keep my hands off you for the next week. Same here, girl. But I truly do want to take you out again. Well, if you intend to see me, it will need to be in or around Columbus for a while. I have to complete my treatment at the clinic there. Everything I must go through to be complete. Oh, I think I can manage an occasional commuter flight from Pittsburgh to visit you. Would that be acceptable? That would be lovely. I smiled genuinely at him. Now, if you do not mind, I need to change into something more comfortable. I retreated to the bathroom and transformed myself. I slipped into my silky nightgown and matching slippers. I creamed off my evening makeup, except for the lipstick, replaced my dangle earrings with small gold hoops, and re-entered the room wearing my purple peignoir and white mules. When Lucas saw the curves and the gentle movement beneath my bodice, he could not take his eyes off me. That is really all you? I'm afraid so, Lucas. It comes included with the I am really a girl kit. We both dissolved into laughter. We maintained proper conduct for the remainder of that week. Well, there was perhaps a little kissing and some innocent fondling, but it remained harmless fun. We were simply getting better acquainted with each other. He is one remarkably fine kisser. I wonder if he will still want to date me after my surgery is complete. Well, if he genuinely likes me for who I am, perhaps he will. One thing has become absolutely clear to me through all of this. Michaela certainly has more fun than Mark ever dreamed possible.